to a place where you belong. Give you strength to carry on. Open your heart, set your mind at ease. Live your life and you'll be free. We're gonna rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising,
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review, where tonight is just basically summing up the news, talking about what's gone on over the weekend, and, of course, the friendly yesterday with the 3-2 victory against Gateshead. It wasn't a great first half, we have to say, but listen, thank you, everybody that tuned in for the watch-along. We had record numbers yesterday for a friendly. Incredible. Almost 2,500 people watching. We haven't hit that. We're hoping that is just the start for this season. Of course, Tuesday night's game against Rangers, you can hear that live right here on the Toon Review as well. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Hello.
Right, well, we may as well start with yesterday. Well, no, we're not going to start with yesterday, because what I do want to do is pronounce this player. I mean, Alex, you can pronounce. I'm going to call him KK. I did call him him earlier on in the transfer window when we were linked with him quite a lot. So I'm just going to call him KK for the benefit of everybody, that I don't pronounce his name wrong. Now, apparently, we've gone in with an £82 million offer, which is incredible, because on the flip side of that, we're trying to sell Maxi to make money to get Harvey Barnes. What do you make of all that, Alex, so far?
Yeah, so Kvaratskhelia is Mr. KK from Napoli.
Yeah, he's just called KK to me. I'll never be able to pronounce that. Even if he comes to us and we commentate on him, he'll be KK.
Yeah, so I think the rumor originated in Saudi, from what I can remember when I was researching this. I think it surfaced in Saudi, as did the Maxi links as well. And then it got picked up by Italian journalists. It's been recycled by our media, although all of our media put exclusive at the front of it, even though it's been recycled. It's literally been pushed around for 3 days now. None of it makes any sense, to be honest. All the journalists are getting really offended when we call them out. However, they're all telling us completely different things, and they've all got different sources. So it's not that we're arguing with your profession. Most of them have got integrity. They've got their sources. They trust their sources. Fair enough. But there's just such a miscommunication of everything in all these stories and links and budgets, players, outgoings, incomings, FFP, salaries. It's just all complete nonsense. Some of it's obviously some of it's right, some of it's not right. Is it the club putting out false leads? Is maybe that's nonsense? Maybe that's overcomplicating it. Maybe it's just wrong from the sources. Well, it's just a mess at the moment. Apart from the only clarity we got was Eddie Howe's interview, really, which helped a little bit.
Well, I mean, he did say that the interview he did with Keith Downey, that he needs players in. He understands that, but also he's under a budget, which is very interesting for him to come out and say. Listen, he's not going to come out and say, "Oh, we've got so many pounds to spend" or anything like that. He's going to do it internally with the club. He's not going to give anything away. Danielle, good evening to you. Hope you're well, sis. I don't want Maxi to leave. I don't think anybody does, to be honest.
There's a few to do.
Well,
I had some people tell me he had a bad game yesterday.
Oh no, I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
If that doesn't prove the witch hunt, I don't know what does.
I mean, Billy, you did the commentary with me yesterday, and you know what it is. We saw Maxi. You know, I'm not taking any of this bollocks saying, "Oh, well, it was only Gateshead," because I'm not subscribing to any of that bollocks right from the off. What I'm saying is what I saw on the pitch yesterday, and that was Maxi performing brilliantly up to his usual high standard, and that's all we said. You know, if Maxi can play like this and stay fit, then that's the Maxi we need in the side. But also, Eddie Howe, Billy came out and said yesterday that, you know, he responded to the reports of him leaving and said that, you know, he doesn't want him to go. He's a great lad. He's come back fighting fit. He's come back in the right frame of mind. Where do you stand on it all?
I noticed how much bulkier he looked in his upper body. I noticed the attitude was, which to me hasn't been questionable, but it was exemplary yesterday. He led from the front. He chased every ball, pressurised on his own at times, got a little frustrated at times when he was the only one doing it. And his skills are always mercurial. So to me, it was fantastic yesterday. And it's all right saying it's doing it against Gateshead, but he did it against Man City last year against the best right back in the world, Kyle Walker.
Yeah, he did.
So you know, he can do that against anybody. He's a fantastic player. And to me, I'd like to see him stay personally.
Well,
I think we can carry him with us. I really do. I think he's that good. I think he can be whatever he wants to be.
It seems very strange, though, doesn't it? That you know, we're going in for. I've been told to call him Vivar as well, whoever this, you know, instead of the surname that he is. But look, it seems strange. £82 million for him, and then, you know, other reports are saying, well, you know, we need to sell Maxi in order to get the funds for Harvey Barnes. So whether that's, you know, whether we're going in for KK with a bit of a different, you know, structured offer, and they're looking to pay fully up front for Harvey Barnes. I mean, it could be that, Alex, couldn't it?
No, I don't think we're in for KK at all. I personally...
Well, all right, just shoot me down from the highest skies. You know what I mean? I'm just going off what I'm reading, Alex.
I don't think we'd spend that even if we had it. Even if out of thin air we managed to get decent bids for Hendrick, Hayden, Lewis, Lascelles, and sell Maxi, I don't think we'd spend that on one winger. I think we'd break it up into chunks and fill the positions that are needed, like right-sided centre-half, left-back, a wide forward. I don't think we'd spend that much on one position. You know, and Mason, mate, ASM had a woeful first half.
Mason, I don't know what game you were watching it. I mean, it's it's everybody's you know, opinion. Obviously,
he put Lewis clear through on goal 1-on-1, and he put Longstaff clear through 1-on-1.
And
so
he would have had a shot on goal had Longstaff not took the frigging ball off him.
Yeah,
you know, Howie, you know, I mean, look, everyone's going to have their opinion on ASM, but this is always going to be a case until that transfer window closes. Billy, there's always going to be rumours about Maxi staying or Maxi going. I mean, it seems to me that there is a lot of, you know, reports out there that we are looking to offload him to bring in Harvey Barnes. I've heard it on numerous radio stations today. So it's not like it's just these clickbait people. There's a lot of reports on it. Now, is Harvey Barnes, you know, a direct replacement for Maxi? I don't know. And I don't know what we get out of selling Maxi and bringing Barnes in. I don't know whether that upgrades the squad or it doesn't.
No, to me, it makes no sense to sell a player to fund a bid for a player, to me, that's inferior. All right, his numbers look good, but I want to see entertainers on the pitch, and I want to see entertainers that will improve. And Maxi's going to improve. There's no doubt about that. We saw it yesterday. You know, the difference in his game from some occasions a year ago, 18 months ago. He looks a better player. He looks like he's really gone away. There's someone worked on himself. Just keep himself fit, and I think he'll be a massive, massive star for us. And I think you'll see the figures to match with it. And we've never had him for consistent long period of time. It's the injuries that have really ruined him. Per minute, he's as good as anybody stats wise.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up the injuries, Alex. I mean, you know, are Newcastle looking to, you know, this is just, again, playing devil's advocate, but are Newcastle United looking to offload Maxi in order to, because it's nothing to do with his capabilities as a footballer, it's his injuries. We can't rely on him to stay fit for long periods of time where we actually need him. And, you know, towards the end of the season, obviously we used Isak and we experimented a bit on the left-hand side. I don't think that's where Eddie wants to play Isak next season. So is it because they don't just, that it's his fitness that is the problem? It's nothing to do with what he's like as a footballer.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I think it's definitely worth mentioning what Billy said, because it's the key point here is all of the early training work he's done behind the scenes. He looked like he was the fittest player on the pitch, or at least the fittest player for us, which was surprising, to be fair, because it's always been a case of, he always needed to be nursed up to standard and up to fitness because he was, relying on his talent. And I think he's clocked on, and I'm happy he's finally done that. He's clocked on that he needs to be ahead of the game if he's going to be included. He looked physically a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, a little bit quicker.
Yeah, he did.
And then is tracking back and a few, gave away a foul. I mean, fair enough, he missed the ball, but he a little 20-yard dash to try and recover the ball, sliding in.
Well, I think he took one. I remember that incident, and I said to Billy at the time, I think he just took one for the team because Gateshead were
I mean, he missed
away,
it, but at the same time, I'm proud he tried it, if that makes any sense. It's nice to see him trying that kind of thing. And then the offensive output is definitely there. If you've got to factor in that if the people he's putting through are, it's Bruno and Tonali and Isak instead of Lewis and Longstaff, those are 2 goals and 2 assists for Maxi. He also put Anderson clean through in the second half, and Anderson missed somehow so that was 3 additional assists he really should have got. So that he could have walked out of that game with 4 assists quite comfortably, because he actually got the one for Anderson.
I mean, we said at the start, Billy, didn't we, at the start of commentary, 5-6 minutes into the game, we said that Maxi looked really fired up, didn't we? And looked like he had a point to prove, whether it was against Gateshead or not. He wanted to give Eddie Howe a very difficult decision when it comes to picking that side, or indeed letting him go. I just think that, Eddie made a point yesterday of when they changed his position as well, because let's be honest, first half, when people are saying he didn't play well, he was given sort of a free role as a striker and coming back as a number 10. And he couldn't get into the game because we just had too many people on the left-hand side. It was getting ridiculous at times. But then second half, he switched him to left wing, and suddenly Newcastle dominated. And that had definitely something to do with Maxi moving to the left.
Without a doubt. I mean, to be fair to him, of all the players in the first half that did adjust to it, the hotspot system that we played, Maxi was the best at it. Because he likes to float about. And he was dropping deep, and he was getting as much of the ball as he could. And he was our best player first half by a country mile. Second half, he was even better when he was on that left side, and he was beating his play for fun, setting up chances for fun. Just had a phenomenal game. For the first game of the season, pre-season game, I thought it was awesome. I really did.
And we said this during commentary in the second half. We were really excited as to how well he seemed to team up with Elliot Anderson in the second half. There was some lovely little touches between the two of them. And of course, Maxi set Elliot's goal up, and then Elliot set Maxi's up, and they looked like really on par with each other, Alex. And that was really good to see.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's a nice thing to have, because he has the same sort of understanding with Isak as well. He needs somebody with a bit more technical ability to be on his level, because there were a few moments where he was trying a little 1-2 and nobody was on his level, but it was only really Anderson that was kind of reading the play. And Isak did that at the back end of last season as well. Everything was going through them two. It was really, really nice to see. And in terms of the injury thing as well, I forgot to finish my point off, but I think that's also one of the reasons why they're working on the fitness in the way they are. I think that they're aware that if they want to try and get 30 games out of him next season, maybe more, he needed to try kind of change his game, change the way he trains, maybe recovers. It looks like they've done that, so we'll see.
Well,
but can I just say one last thing as well? Yeah. I do think it's win-win, by the way. And a few Maxi haters in there saying, "Is this the Maxi show?" Well, yeah, because we're linked with transfers in, and all of them are dependent on whether he goes. So it's kind of a big topic right now. But I think right now we've got to a point, especially he looks really good. He's not injured. He's had a good showing against Gateshead. This is win-win for us, because I think he either goes for a decent fee or he stays and plays well for us. I think those are the two options. I think if we get really unlucky, he stays and gets injured, which would be a shame. But I think it's going to be one of the two positives. We either get a really good fee for him, or he stays and we get a decent player next season. So I think that's good either way for us, really.
I mean, I get very confused what people actually want to listen to sometimes, because Maxi is one of our major stars. He's one of the major news stories at the moment. And that's what we are going to talk about, is the major news stories. whether it be Maxi or another player. But Maxi is in the headlines at the minute, and we have to discuss that as a Newcastle United channel. It's not the Maxi show. We're talking about, is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? Is that going to free up money for Harvey Barnes, etc.? It's all part of the circle. So we have to talk about Maxi. And quite frankly, I've seen some comments about Craig Hope saying he looked heavy and poor in the first half. I don't know what people are watching. Quite honestly, I do not understand what people are watching, because he set so many chances up in that first half yesterday and went to the next level in the second half. Yes, he was much better second half because he was allowed to play his proper position. But the first half, he was out of position. It was the first pre-season game of the season. He's missed a lot of the back end of last season due to injury. What do people expect? I mean,
if we want to talk about senior players in that game who started,
we will come on to a couple, Alex. Don't you worry about that. But we'll move away from Maxi now, because obviously we've spoke about him and we've had our say on him. But come on, just stop the pure hatred for him. I've given Maxi a lot of stick on this channel, but yesterday I thought he was a very, very bright spark in what was a very dull first half, much better second. But that people will have their opinion, but we'll agree to disagree.
One thing that's been added to Maxi's profile in FBref. So Rayan Cherki that everybody's gone bonkers for. Everybody wants Rayan Cherki now after the under-21 showings and Leon, and he's broken through. Everybody's gone mad about Rayan Cherki. The closest stat match, the person who he profiles closest to in Europe is literally Maxi.
Yeah, it is. So
just try and get Maxi firing and injury free.
Geordie boy, thank you for your £5 super chat. He says, I want Maxi to stay for the exciting season to come. Time will tell on it. Now, talking about senior players, we'll start with the goalkeeper. Because Carl Darlow, look, I know he's wanted by championship clubs, and quite frankly, sell him. I mean, he wasn't very confident in the goal in that first half yesterday. It was his, he should have done a lot better with gathering the ball up before the Gateshead player slammed it in the net. Yes, it was poor defending between the two centre-backs to let the ball drift over the top of them, but he's got to be out there. But then in the second half, you see the difference, and you see Loris Karius, sweeper keeping like Nick Pope did. Every long ball that Gateshead hit over the top, Billy, he was out. He was controlling the ball. He was then just laying it off to the defenders and letting them, bring the ball out. So if we're talking about goalkeepers, it was chalk and cheese yesterday for me. Karius looked fit. He looked agile. He came for a couple of crosses and held on. And I thought he made a brilliant save as well. Let's not forget. I thought he was excellent.
It's the calmness he shows. I think the calmness he shows helps the defenders in front of him. Savage and Byrne had Darlow behind him and looked shaky because of it. I honestly believe that. I thought Darlow was absolutely atrocious yesterday. I really did. I thought he had no confidence in himself, no composure, wrong decision making, at fault for the second goal. I thought partly. Karius came on, just looked a completely different player, just calm, composed, did all the right things, read the game much better, and he's a far better goalkeeper. I hope he's our number 2 this year, because I really do think he's an excellent goalkeeper.
Yeah, I really do as well. Basil Brush, haven't seen you for a long time. Hope you're well. I was there yesterday. She says Maxi wasn't performing first off, but turned it around second. I mean, he's always going to swing opinion. There is absolutely no doubt about it.
He put 2 people through one-on-one. How is that not good enough?
Alex, we're
it just doesn't make sense, though.
People have their opinions. Byrne was shite yesterday, says Carlos. Well, I mean, look, let's name a couple of the senior players who didn't perform yesterday. I mean, look, Dan Byrne, I don't know what the hell was the matter with Dan Byrne. What I would like to say is I thought Savage looked quite decent in the first half. Second half, young Alex Murphy looked better than Dan Byrne when they were playing together at centre-halves. That kid has got a good future, and a lot of the kids, which we'll come on to a bit later, installed a lot of confidence in me. But Dan Byrne was all over the place. Sean Longstaff, I mean, we praise him a lot now for his performances on the pitch. And I know, yes, it's first game of the season, etc., etc. We're not going to hammer him or anything like that. Don't be daft. It is first game of the season. It's pre-season. But some of his mistakes yesterday were Sunday League dreadful, Alex. They were actually Sunday League dreadful.
Yeah, look, I think Sean Longstaff gets a pass. In the same
Yes,
that
absolutely.
Botman had 1 or 2 games, but Botman had 25 great games and then 2 absolute horror show games. Like it happens. It happens.
Mhm.
He literally steam trained someone to give away a penalty. And Longstaff had one of those days where his fitness didn't look like it was too bad at all. It was just his passes, his decision making, his positional awareness, um, predicting a bounce. It was just all a little bit off. And it happened 3 or 4 times, and it just made him look a bit like look like a bit of a clown. And it's just a shame because we know Sean is one of those players where he needs 3 or 4 games, and when he's had 3 or 4 games, he's fine. He's a rock. He's sturdy. He's consistent. That's kind of it'll be fine. It's just it's one of those things. The same as Dan Burn as well. I think it was so many changes, so many players in different positions. I mean, hats off to Gateshead as well. You can talk about the standard of technical ability of players, but you know, there's not going to be too much difference in terms of speed and pressing, especially in the first 30 minutes. And that's why Gateshead, they came out the blocks really, really fast. It doesn't matter what level you're playing at. If you've got 11 athletes sprinting around at you as hard as they can for the first half an hour, it is going to be tough to deal with. And they were rusty, and their technical ability being a little bit rusty, it really did show for Burn and Longstaff, especially in the first half an hour. It wasn't great.
We did say that yesterday, Billy, that Gateshead are a little bit further forward in their pre-season. Obviously, they played a couple of games. They played our friends from down the road last week. Again, led the game 2-0 at half-time and lost 3-2. I think that's something Mike Williamson will probably look at as to why.
I don't think Savage was great either, by the way.
Well, that's fair enough. What I will say is, we were very impressed with Gateshead football in the first half, Billy. They played some nice stuff. And, if they can transfer that into their National League campaign this season, then I don't think they're going to be anywhere near relegation. I think the way they knock the ball around, they try and play out from the back all the time, whether it was successful or not. Some of it was a little bit risky, but they did. And they've got some good players there who I think quite surprised us yesterday because, the way they were going in for tackles and things like that, they wanted that yesterday, obviously playing the neighbours from over the river. So it meant a lot to Gateshead, and credit to them.
Yeah, they engaged a really, really frenetic press first half, and it caught our players out, and Sean Longstaff got caught out twice doing it. I think Sean Longstaff benefits from playing in a regimented structure, which yesterday's 11 didn't have. There were players just playing because they were the fittest ones there. There was no positional strength to it or any balance at all to it. I think Sean Longstaff benefits from a bit of structure in the side, as Jamie Carragher would say, structure. But he didn't have it yesterday, and he got caught out twice because of it. He was pretty poor.
Yeah. I mean, look, people are saying in the chat it was Gateshead and we should be running rings around Gateshead. No. It's like Alex said, it's not. Yesterday wasn't about football and ability because it was our first pre-season game of this, and Gateshead, when a team's up, we see that in cup games, season in, season out, that smaller teams, it's happened to us. Look at Cambridge United. There was no way, despite I know the fact that, the takeover had just gone through and we had a lot of those players are actually still with us. So, you look at the Cambridge game and you think, right, Cambridge really wanted that. And despite the fact that, they were playing much better footballers, whether you like it or not, that's how it was. And unfortunately, that's what happens in football. But we know it's a pre-season friendly. But
there's a reason our 3 goals came in the second half.
Yeah, but we're talking about the match. Whether it was Gateshead or not, we can still talk about the performances and stuff. It doesn't mean anything because, like Alex said before, the likes of Longstaff and Byrne, they'll be all right. They just had shaky games yesterday. That's fine. But as long as by the time we take on Aston Villa, all those players are at 100% ready to go and switched on, that's fine. We know it's pre-season. The Rangers game on Tuesday, I think, is going to be an entirely different kettle of fish because there's 8,000 Newcastle fans going to be there. There's going to be a packed-out Ibrox. I genuinely think that Newcastle have some agreement that they are going to play a very strong side, hence why a lot of the big names weren't involved yesterday. I think they'll be playing against Rangers on Tuesday, and I think it's going to be an excellent game, and I think it will be quite a physical game, Billy.
100%. It's a massive old enemy kind of game, isn't it? England v Scotland, Rangers traditionally have got a very hostile crowd. Newcastle fans going in there in a droves. They'll make themselves heard. It's a massive game in front of the lights and Ibrox, which is a fantastic stadium, fantastic place to play, and it'll be a really, really good game. I think it'll be tough as well. I think there'll be tough tackles flying around. Yeah, it'll be well worth watching.
Stuart reckons we need to all to have a shave. No. Chipper says KK is a smokescreen. Why 82 million as well? It's a very odd amount. Revenger says, okay, sell Maxi where? Only link is Saudi. No other Euro club have been consistently linked with him. That's a very good point. There's no links coming from anywhere else. Night of Knee Gamers says, can't remember where I saw it, but our biggest signing this window will be the new coach being brought in to solve the injury problems. Yeah, there's some fitness guy has come in. Yeah, hopefully make a big difference. Now we'll talk about the kids, guys, because I think this is big for me. Watching those kids yesterday, and we said it between me and Billy, we were very surprised from sort of 65 minutes onwards, where they made the huge changes and a lot of the kids were on, how they dominated that game in the second half. They continued to press, and you could see, Alex, in the kids, how Eddie Howe's rubbed off on them as well, training with Eddie Howe and knowing how he likes to play the game, the passing, the movement, the pressing. It was all there from the kids. And Lewis Miley stood out a mile. I mean, that's no pun intended, but he did. Obviously set the goal up for Turner Cook. There is some very promising kids coming through, and the fact that we've brought some of these kids into the academy to strengthen it because we know it wasn't good enough in the past.
Yeah, I think it's definitely starting to show now. I think the first indication that things had really changed was seeing Gordon in the Euros, and it felt like a completely different player to what we'd watched 2 months previous in the black and white shirt. It looked like he'd learned so much, and the kids as well looked so much better. I mean, Miley looked decent against Chelsea anyway, but there wasn't really a drop off in. I don't want to say a drop off in quality, but it doesn't always matter necessarily, because we weren't playing. We weren't playing in that way where we needed individual quality. We were playing passing sequences, keep the ball. We were playing certain patterns, drills, and it's what they've been trained to do, and they look like they've been trained to do it very well. And then the one player, obviously, well, the two players was obviously Lewis Miley and Jay Turner Cook, who kind of broke outside of that standard build-up passing sequence. Miley saw the opportunity to cut inside, saw the run, and Jay Turner Cook was switched on enough to realise that was an option, made the run, and then had the skill to open his body up and hit it left-footed and place it in the bottom corner. So it was a few things. It was two pieces of individual quality from two youngsters, as well as they look really. I mean, I think one of them gave the ball away once. I'm not sure if it was Parkinson or. However, generally the passing sequences were quick, nippy, technical quality, lots of movement. Not used to it. It's a bit weird.
I know. Yeah,
it's good to see.
Gareth Bascom, thank you for your £5 super chat. He says, Alex, on FB Ref, progressive passes, are they passed directly before the assist?
No. So, I mean, I can read you out exactly what they are on FBref. So, completed passes that move the ball towards the opponent's goal line at least 10 yards from its furthest point in the last 6 passes, or any completed pass into the penalty area, excludes passes from the defending 40% of the pitch. So, it's about dangerous forward passing that's going to create stuff for you, basically. Yeah. It's trying to measure that as a metric.
The Mighty Win says, did you see the ASM lookalike come on in the second half? Well, it was that's Lucas De Ball. And it wasn't.
That's not De Ball, it's Nduweni.
No, who came on as 55 on the left, and Nduweni wasn't 55. That was Lucas De Ball.
Yeah,
Lucas De Ball's white.
First.
It was Lucas De Ball, definitely. He's the Maxi lookalike. He had the.
No, De Ball is white. 100%. Yeah, because his brothers. I follow his brother on Twitter.
Oh, well, I don't care anymore. I was looking at the wrong player, but there you go. John says, I do agree, Maxi was good, but you'd expect him to be good against Gateshead. Mubarak says, I love Maxi, but he didn't play a big part of Newcastle making it to the top 4. We played well without him.
Yes, definitely Andy Wendy. I just checked for you.
All right, Alex. You don't have to make your point more than once. You know, I did surrender and said I got it wrong.
But I wasn't sure if maybe I was wrong. I was just double checking to make sure.
God forbid that ever happens. I mean, Jesus Christ, the world would end. Ian says the only way Maxi leaves is if NUSC get him a plum deal that gets him out of his Lambo and into a Bugatti Veyron. Now, actually, I do want to talk about his car because I don't know whether you guys saw this on social media, but when he was getting out his car at the training ground, I mean, look, I'm all for, you know, if they've got the money, buy whatever car they want. The thing is, Maxi gets out of the car in 3 stages. It was like watching Jeremy Clarkson when he's been driving a Lamborghini. And
he does.
I mean, you talk about his injuries, right? Do you think that might have... I'm being serious here. When he gets out of the car, I mean, if he's that low down and sort of in an uncomfortable position, that's not good for the body, surely.
Oh, it's fine. He's not going to be in it very long, is he?
Well, Alex, I remember trying to get in the front of a Porsche once. My mate had a Porsche, right? And I tried to get in the front of it. And it was literally like Fred Flintstone. If I was going to drive that Porsche, I would have had to take the front seat out, right? And drive it from the back seat.
Proportionally a little bit different.
Well, I know I'm much muscular than him, but you know, that can't be helped. But anyway, I just thought it was worth mentioning because
Dan Burn have a smart car.
Yes, he does. He does indeed. But listen, when he got out, he looked like an old cripple when he got out the Lamborghini.
I've got sympathy for him. I struggled to get into a Porsche, let alone a fucking Porsche.
Well, you know, it's just one of those things I'd mentioned. But one player that we are going to mention, and one player that has featured on our Patreon podcasts. And by the way, guys, thank you to everybody that signed up to the Patreon. There is a lot more to come on there, but we did the original one that we did with me and Alex, the very first one we did on there. By the way, the links are in the description for Patreon. Go and have a look at it, see what you think. There is a little fee for it every month, but that goes towards the channel. And, you know, we do a lot of podcasts that we don't film. So there's a lot on there. And the first one was Jamal Lewis, Alex. And I just wasn't impressed with what I saw with him yesterday. I generally wasn't. He had opportunities in the first half to get down and get some crosses in, but he kept turning back and as if he didn't have any confidence. And when he went to left back, my God, I mean, his defending was just dreadful.
Yeah, I think, right, so when he was getting onto the sort of the left side of the box in a decent position to whip in across, the problem is to get him there, Maxi was having to drop deep. I mean, you're playing a left winger as a centre forward. His instinct was to try and build up on that side anyway, instinctively. And the problem is everybody would drop deep to try and build up. You know, Richie's also left-footed on that right side and will try and focus that way. So you got to a point where Lewis would have a burst of pace and would get there, and there's no one in the box. And it's just what happens when it's the personnel you've selected and their styles of play. And you know, obviously they've not played that before with that system. You know, we played a double pivot with Trippier in it. It was all a bit of a mishmash. On the one hand, Lewis was terrible in my opinion. But then on the other hand, I do feel really sorry for him because he played in a completely unorthodox system with a complete. Everybody was out of position. He was playing as a winger, and I feel like at the same time it's a little bit unfair to judge him on that performance. If you judge him on a settled team in the left back position and let him have a go there, I think on the performance bad, but in context, what did you expect? I mean, if we put any of our left backs in the left wing. You know, if we put Dan Burn or Paul Dummett, or even if we put Manquillo up on the right wing, I don't think any of them would have done any better. Of course, it was going to happen.
Well, you mentioned Dummett there. I mean, I was really a lot of people surprised Dummett wasn't involved yesterday. I don't understand this Paul Dummett situation. Why have we given him a contract and he can't even get in the squad against Gateshead? I do not get it.
The journalist should have asked the question because obviously Hal mentioned Lascelles had a tight muscle. Fair enough. Like he gave us an explanation for a few of the players, but then didn't give us an explanation for Hendrick. Didn't give us. I don't think Hayden we had an explanation for either, or Dummett. So it would have been nice if the journalist would have pressed, you know, a few players so we could at least, you know, try and figure it out as fans what's going on. But it's just frustrating the fact that we're giving a contract to somebody who's not going to feature against Gateshead. Like, if he's not going to feature against Gateshead, who is he going to feature against?
I'll give you a clue. Rangers. I think he's virtually certain to play against Rangers.
What,
You
damn
reckon?
Mm. Well, who else going to play left back? Two of them played yesterday. Three of them played yesterday if you count Dan Burn. The only one that's fresh is Paul Dummett. So I imagine he's going to play against
Yeah, but there's
Rangers.
going to be unlimited substitutions, you would imagine. So he might be able to just play 45 minutes
he'll
of each
certainly start.
anyway.
Well, yeah, he'll play at least half the game, I imagine. I imagine he'll start it as well. Which is not
Interesting.
too much confidence, I've got to say, but there you go.
Because he was there watching, wasn't he? So
Yeah. They were all there watching, but I mean, I just found it strange. I find the whole Paul Dummett situation very strange anyway. Guys, we've got over 1,100 watching. Thank you once again for tuning in to us on a Sunday evening. Really do appreciate that. If you are enjoying the show, as usual, guys, please do give it the thumbs up. We really do need those likes coming in. It keeps us in the search results on YouTube. And also, if you're new and like what you see, please do hit the subscribe button. It's free to do so. And also that notification bell to let you know when we upload any videos or we schedule any live shows in. I do like to apologize to quite a few of the Discord members who suddenly disappeared off our server yesterday. There was a technical error. And unfortunately, some people will have to sign on or sign in again to become part of the Discord server. Just a complete technical error. So we do apologize for that. But if you sign up again, everything will be great. Lots of good stuff coming to Discord as well. And we are going to be doing sort of, a little something for the members. It's going to be like an after show party, if you like, where we go into the Discord server for around about half an hour after a live show and speak. We'll speak to you behind the scenes on Discord. You can ask any questions. You can interact with us. So that's going to be something for the members coming up very shortly as well. Become a member if you're not already by hitting that join button just underneath the three of us. That will make you a member, and money towards the channel. Yes, it'll be supporting the channel, but you'll also get the membership perks. So yeah, do sign up for that as well. Have I missed anything out, guys? Anything? Oh, the Patreon, Alex. Do you want to give the Patreon a shout?
Yeah. So obviously the YouTube membership's different. YouTube memberships is going to be like private shows and not that kind of private show, Billy. And things to do with the Discord, additional perks. So it's going to be additional viewing and things like that. Whereas the Patreon is completely separate, and it's just so when I go on a side rant about something quite specific.
Well, I mean,
we never.
Occasionally, we're very well aware of that, Alex.
So there's a few things that we don't get a chance to go into in real depth. So we'll talk about a fringe player, and we don't have the time to go and discuss it for half an hour. So we'll just go and do it on a Patreon podcast, and it means we can just kind of blurt out our thoughts on a lot of different topics that we just don't have the time to get into live shows. And then it's in audio form. It's much quicker for us to set up and record. It gets it out quickly for people that you can just go and listen to on the go. So if you don't have to sign up for it, obviously all the YouTube content is free to like and subscribe to. If you do want to become a member, then that just helps, and you can be included in all the giveaways and all the additional stuff we're going to do for YouTube members. But then the Patreon's just something different. If you do want extra podcasts to listen to during the day or whenever, it's just fun for us to talk about extra stuff and UFC. It's really exciting at the moment. So
yeah,
and hopefully I'm going to be sorting out a Jamal Lascelles one. Is going to be next on the what's next. Followed by all the juicy stuff to do with Gateshead and Rangers, of course.
Well, we don't know if Lascelles is actually fit yet, do we? Because obviously he was injured and didn't feature yesterday. I don't think he's featured much in he does look ripped. I think you mentioned that yesterday, Billy. He does look extremely ripped and ready to go. But obviously you can look fit. But
I got told off when I said that about Callum Wilson last season. That he looked really, really fit, very lean and athletic.
It was the way you worded that about Callum Wilson, Alex. It
sounded it the same way.
It sounded like you needed a hotel room. Anyway, we have another new member, John Morn. Welcome to Members Club, John. Thank you very much for signing up, and welcome to the Toon Review family, my friend. Thank you so much. Geordie Tune for Life says, remember Longstaff has been out injured as well. Yes, that's a very, very good point.
Can I just add one more thing on as well? I forgot because Tom's put it in the chat. Yeah, so Billy and Tom obviously did some historical stuff on UFC, and they're going to be doing lots of interesting shows. I don't know exactly what you guys are doing. It's top secret stuff, but
it is private and confidential at the moment. But we'll see. We'll see. But there is some good stuff. And don't forget, Toon Review Gaming will be coming soon. A lot of us will be involved in that. And Susan and Rachel are undergoing the Toon Review Fitness podcasts, which will be starting in the near future. So if you want to get into your fitness and lose a bit of plumpness or that excess beef, then hopefully they can help you to lose that. So we do have those available. I believe they're on Twitter and that new Threads. So if you want to go and follow us on there, you can as well. Jordan says Longstaff won't make the starting 11 with Tonali, Bruno, and Joe 7 in midfield. He will only be a bench player. Hate to say it, but there you go. Well, I mean, I wouldn't call him a bench player, Billy. I think more a rotational player.
Yeah, 100%. He's going to get loads of minutes. There'll be games where Tonali's not quite 100% up to it, and Longstaff will play, or Bruno, or whatever. It's going to be a squad game this season. It's going to have to be with the amount of games we've got coming to us, potentially in the 70s kind of realm, aren't we? So, yep, that's not just called players bench players. They're not playing every week. They're all first-team players at the end of the day.
Yeah, the squad players. And we've said that many times throughout this summer that we need a squad, and hopefully, there's a couple of more signings to come through the door. Where do you stand at the moment, Alex? Because on what Eddie had to say about the transfers, because he kind of gave for me, it was very cryptic messages, because he was at 1 minute saying that he's working under a very strict budget. The next, he's saying that he realizes that he does have to bring players in, but he also mentioned that those players don't have to be the massive big names that everybody's expecting through the door.
Yeah, I mean, if you break it down logically and think about it, we struggled with injuries at the back end of last season. The last few games, our starting 11 was hanging by a thread. And let's not forget, we got lucky that Kieran Trippier managed to make 37 starts last season, who's a 33-year-old right back. Fabian Schär as well, the fact that he played, I think he was 36, 37 starts as well. We were awfully lucky. We were the walking wounded at the back end of last season, and we've added one additional first-team player. So if we're gonna continue with this intense play style, which is manic. I mean, if people remember, if you can cast your minds back to Jurgen Klopp's first 18 months to 2 years at Liverpool, they were injury ravaged. It was constant calves and hamstrings going ping left, right, and centre. And then sort of third season, they were absolutely monstrous. They were just blowing teams away 5-0, 6-0, 5-0, 5-1. It was bonkers. So if we're going to do this next season and play this way, we're going to have a minimum of 46 fixtures, plus obviously friendlies, pre-seasons, and things like that. We've got one additional midfielder in for the first team. So
go on. Sorry, Alex.
Well, I'm just saying what he said makes perfect sense. A lot of journalists are all twisting it in their own way to form their own articles and their own narratives. He's just saying the truth. We need more players, but there's no point in signing players if it doesn't fit the criteria. They need to be the right age, the right profile. They need to fit the squad building project. We don't want to be signing a 32-year-old on high wages that's going to be useless.
Plus the fact we know what Eddie Howe can do with players. Just because they're not standout names, what's to say that they can't sign for Newcastle and suddenly become superstars? Why do we have to bring the superstars in? We have a manager who can transform players into superstars. He's proved it with the players that are already there. Joe Linton is a superstar now. He's a Brazilian international. He's known throughout the world now. He was known for a failure for 2 years under Steve Bruce. But now Eddie Howe comes in, transforms him into a world-class midfielder. And he is a world-class midfielder. Just because he might not be that midfielder that bursts forward and scores loads of goals, but by God, he's a midfielder that any team would want in the middle now. He's tenacious, he's physical, he's got the right head on his shoulders for a start. He knows how to look after himself, and he seems like a really down-to-earth, lovely guy as well, from what we've been told. So just the kind of player that we need. So why can't we get players in to become superstars?
I've just seen Paolo's comment as well. I just want to address this because I've seen this quite a lot on Twitter in the last couple of days as well. So Paolo's just said we need players. I mean, oh God, I've lost his comment. We need players, but need someone better than Ashworth to deal with it. Mate, I've seen this a few times on Twitter in the last couple of days, saying, "Where is our Mitoma? Where is our Caicedo?" That takes 5, 6, 7, 8 years of building a scouting network, having your scouting team doing all. It takes years to be able to unearth these gems. You don't do it in 6 months. That's not how that works. It's never worked that way. Like, I think we've already done a great job. If you look at some of the youngsters we've managed to snatch, like Alex Murphy looks great. Minto looks great. Qual looks like a good prospect. We've already unearthed a few that might be useful in the next 12 to 24 months. You're not going to get a good hit rate like Brighton have got for a few more years. I think people need to calm down with the Ashworth expectation. I think give him a couple more years, honestly. Yeah. Like what was it I used to say? You can't hatch him out of eggs. You've got to give him a couple of years.
There's another one yesterday that we've not spoke about. Harrison Ashby was absolutely outstanding at what.
Yeah, I was coming on to him, Billy. Yeah, he was absolutely superb. We'll come on to him in just a moment. Kieran, thank you for becoming a new member. Thank you for your support of the channel, and welcome to Members Club, my friend. Stex, why does it matter where Stato and Billy are from? It doesn't matter. Just because they're not from Newcastle doesn't mean they're not as big a Newcastle fans as the rest of us. Alex lives near Northampton, Billy Coventry, but obviously you'll not find too big a Newcastle fans. We're all supporting the same club. There you go. I just thought
I'd get that just to show people. That's like 8 or 9 year old me's shirt from over 20 years ago. So
I've been disappointed at football matches for over 50 years now. So
well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we've seen some highs and some very, very lows. But Billy, just explain about Harrison Ashby yesterday, because we mentioned him a few times when he came on in the commentary, how he had very, very similar physical attributes to Kieran Trippier.
Yeah, 100%. And it was seamless. Came on, did exactly the same job as Kieran Trippier did. Energetic, up and down the line, very good defensively, got all his tackles in, didn't give the ball away. Looks like a seamless transition to me. Looks a really, really good player. First time we've seen him as well, I was really impressed with him.
By the way, a lot of people saying about the game on Tuesday. It's on NUFC TV, so it's free on there to watch. But what we always say for when Newcastle games are on, knock the commentary off, listen to the commentary on the Toon Review, and watch the game with us. You can watch it online and listen to our commentary, and it's much better. So there. Darren says Craig Hope piled the pressure on Karius before the final last year with a stupid post. Was no need. Can't stand the bloke. Luke Edwards is a tool too. Look, Craig Hope's because look, I've got nothing against Craig Hope. I think he's had his ups and downs with Newcastle United report, and I think it's fair to say. I just think he's been slightly on the negative side at the start of this season for some reason. Just with he seems to, if any reports come out, he's slamming them down straight away, and he's not really very positive at the minute, Craig Hope. I don't know why.
I think you've got to. I agree. I like Craig Hope, and I think Luke Edwards has got some valuable things as well to say, and you've got to respect them.
Well, I'll never say anything. I'll never say that about Luke Edwards.
Fair enough, but you've got to understand that they need engagement, and constantly every day putting articles about sunshine and rainbows is not going to get the clicks necessarily. So it's not. I'm not suggesting there's anything lying going on. Of course not. They're just acting on sources and real information. Luke Edwards. I mean, I was critical of Luke Edwards' article the other day about the potential collapse of next season if we don't get the transfer window right, and he is completely right. However, it was a very ill-timed article based on the fact that it was. We've got 7 weeks left of the transfer window. It was just a bit bonkers. It's unnecessary. It's like saying anything. It's madness. You could say that about any team in the league if they don't get the transfer window right. It's just, if your aunt's your uncle and all that nonsense, it's a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah,
it is what it is. You just got to take it with a pinch of salt.
By the way, I stand corrected on the game. It's $7.99 to watch the game. Rangers are broadcasting it online as well, and all the money raised from the $7.99s is going to McGregor's chosen charity. So it is going to a good cause. Obviously, I didn't realize that. I've never seen it advertised at $7.99. I just read that it was going to be broadcast online. It is going to be $7.99 to watch the game. So even if you don't want to pay that, then you can just listen to the commentary right here on the Toon Review, but I didn't realise, so I do stand corrected on that. But I suppose, knowing that it's going to a good cause, obviously McGregor is donating all of the testimonial money to charity, which I think is fantastic. The Mighty Win says, does anyone know why the stadium was half empty? Yes, I actually found this out last night that Gateshead were only allowed to sell 11,500 tickets, which left another 5,000 empty seats. I don't know why that is. I don't know what stipulation that was for, but they were only allowed to sell 11,500 tickets. I don't know whether some of the seating in the ground isn't ready or, I don't know. But that was the reason that there were so many empty seats yesterday. They were given a capacity of 11,500 to sell. So that's the reason why. Alex will be back in a second. We've got a £5 super chat coming from Gareth Bascom again. Thank you, Gareth. £5 super chat. Thank you, Alex, for that explanation. Love to you all. You're very welcome, my friend. Now, Billy, some people are saying that the weather probably caused a little bit of an issue yesterday. I know that, I've got noise cancelling headphones and I could hear the claps of thunder from outside. I mean, it was, I've seen some of the, I've seen Newcastle fans TV video and Adams, and, the rain, certainly at half time was, it was biblical.
Yeah, I saw Peter Proudlock's video. He was filming down and the water was coming up with it every stride. It was surface water, so not an easy game to play on, and it's not an easy game to gain fitness. Well, it's a good game to gain fitness on. It's not a good game if you're not fit to play on because, bottomless ground, it's not good. Not good for the old calves and the Achilles tendons, but we're coming through it okay, so I guess it's a positive in that regards because it will get your fitness in your leg without a doubt.
It was unbelievable. Foxy says pre-season is pre-season. The results are never important. All about getting minutes in the legs for players and for how to see where the youth fringe players are at. We know all about, what results mean in pre-season, but I think, the more time goes on, I think the more pre-season does become a little bit more important. I remember going to Leyton Orient and getting an absolute pummeling down there, and we thought we were going to have a disastrous season, and it didn't work out that way. So yes, I do understand that as well. What makes Newcastle unique compared to Man City or Arsenal is players have free reign to ad-lib.
I'm not sure about that. I think Man City have got that kind of freedom too.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah. Mason says, I feel a bit harsh on Maxi. I just think he should have been in the box a few times when Richie was lobbing balls into the box. To be honest, Mason, I didn't really see Richie lob a lot of balls into the box yesterday. Alex, I think you mentioned this at the end of the game yesterday about Richie. He didn't seem to stand out very much. He was around, but I don't think he stood out as much as he possibly could have yesterday.
No, so you can see his technical quality, which is what I always try and point out. And I always say that I wish he was 5 years younger because I think he's still got a really good, left foot on him, and he's very technically gifted. But yeah, he's just you're playing him on the right wing as an inverted, he's an inverted winger, and it just didn't work. He didn't look confident doing anything with his right foot. The best thing was the first, the 9th second of the game, where he got away and got that right-footed shot off that just went past the post. And then beyond that, it was a little bit too slow. You've got to remember, trying to play, because we played different to what we normally do. We had an inverted right winger in Richie, and then we had a natural left winger in Lewis, if you can call it that. So you're playing to build up and not just whip balls into the box, but then you're doing that with a completely rotated side that aren't used to playing together and are all in different positions. So those two things don't match. They don't work together. Trying to recycle possession and be careful, but then playing a bunch of rotated players, it doesn't work like that.
Graham says, agree. Sports cars and seats don't do your back any favours. And I would think the club would mention this and recommend certain cars. Your Range Rovers, etc., must be better for comfort. Look, how many? I don't know whether you used to watch the old Top Gear when they used to go on these, these tours and around Europe and stuff like that. And Clarkson always used to get these like Lambos and things like that. And then, halfway through the show, he would be getting out of them like he couldn't walk. Just my opinion. I just can't see how that does the body any.
It makes no difference. Not with the amount of time that these players are spending in these cars. If Maxi's driving it to the south coast every other weekend, fine. He'll just be driving it around the city centre, and then he goes in every day and gets a sports massage and has a physiotherapist and does all of his warm-ups. It's fine. Like, it's not like, I mean, the only occasion where it makes sense is when I think we had this conversation about Wilson was driving down to the south coast quite regularly. I mean, that maybe that's that.
Well, it'd be interesting to hear the views of a chiropractor on that and see what they say about that.
It's a point. How far do you go though?
Well,
how far do you go?
If you're continually getting hamstring injuries and things, it can affect your hamstrings, Alex. I know for it. A few people have mentioned that in the chat. But look, I mean, I don't think. Do I think Maxi's injuries are caused by his car? Absolutely not. But all I mentioned was the 3 stages it took him to get out of that Lambo, and it took him around 30 yards before he looked like he was actually walking properly. It was just so funny to watch.
But where's the line if we start talking about that?
I know.
When you have your dinner in the evening, you've got to have a stand-up desk to eat a stand-up dining room table, and then if you've got a match on Saturday, no funny business with the missus. From Wednesday onwards, where does it end?
Well, I don't know. Somebody actually emailed me offering a stand-up desk to review it on the channel. Could you believe? I'm not that old. She says Dummett's contract was extended for the fact that he's homegrown club trained, which is a quota we need to fulfill under UEFA rules. Yeah, I know that. Exactly. That's my point. I don't get it. And it's not like he's on low wages. He's on a good sum of money. I mean, how much, Billy, do you think, Dummett will be on this new contract?
I imagine 40 to 50k. Couldn't see much more than that.
So it's still
No, I doubt that. Surely,
I would go.
How many games he played for Newcastle? Despite being here 10.
Well, I would look 12, for the. I would years. Probably look. I would look games 20. Tops? Yeah, I'd probably say around 20, 25k. But it's still it does
much. I think he'd be on around 10 to 15. Because his contract was expiring, so the club were well within their rights to say, right, we'll give you another year, but it's going to be considerably lower.
It'd be interesting to know.
Absolutely. Irani Granny says, I never get apologies from Paul. Well, rightly so, because of your stupid images that you put in the chat every single time.
It's amazing.
I've never had hair like that since I was born.
Paul and Zorro.
Yes, indeed. Pont Mag says, do you think we could package up these surplus players for sale? For example, Lewis plus Hayden plus Hendrick for 7 million to Luton, or Darlow and Manquillo for 9 million to Leeds, for example, rather than individual sales.
You buy one, you get one free.
Luton
can't afford the wages.
Is a pound. I mean, maybe, but it just depends on the club, doesn't it?
I think Forest are going to be careful about buying anybody else from us again after what's happened with Shelby and Chris Wood. And Luton can't afford the wages. And I think Bournemouth, maybe Bournemouth, but I think Bournemouth know they're better than that. Yeah.
John says, guys, you're all very loyal, but the highlights reel I saw was very ordinary. Some have had only 6 weeks off. I don't know. Just wondering if Tonali had his head in his hand saying, what have I done? Well, John, no, because it wasn't anywhere near a first 11 yesterday. It was a lot of the kids playing yesterday. That's why, all the superstars were sitting watching the game with him. And I'm sure that Tonali has seen the likes of Bruno and Joe Linton and Joe Willock, etc., etc. We've got a lot of big names to come back in.
Our wingers were Jamal Lewis and Matt Ritchie.
Yeah. And by the way, I was quite disappointed with Matty Targett yesterday. He didn't seem to get himself involved a lot. And when he did, he seemed to lose.
He's lost 5 yards of pace. That injury last year, just every time I see him, he looks feeble. Doesn't look very strong at all. Doesn't look very quick. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I just something. I mean, look, again, it's first preseason. We can't really judge, but I think Tuesday night, as I say, is going to be a very, very different kettle of fish. It really will be.
I didn't get a chance to say it, by the way, when you were talking about other players. I was also very, very impressed with Karius. I agree completely with what you guys said. He looked sharp, quick with his hands, quick to release and start counter-attacks. Really impressed. Obviously, we got that nice video from a couple of months ago when Shay Given went and did that nice training session with all of the goalkeepers. It does look like they train very, very hard. The training looks like it's improved dramatically, like drastically all over the pitch for all age groups and positions. And you can literally see it in Karius's game. He looks so much better than the last time I saw him play.
David says Alex was smacking his lips when he spoke about ripped players. Oh dear. Mason says, did anyone see Martin Tyler on Tyneside Live at the game yesterday? No. Christian says, can you please put the fantasy football link up again? Hang on a minute. I believe I've still got it. No, well, I'll put the code up. This is the code. So this is the code to join the league for the fantasy football. So if you go and put your team in and then join the league, there is your code. So if you want to write it down, just so you know, and that is the code to join the league.
I felt pressure the other night, so I put my team in now.
Have you really? Well, we'll have a look at that, Billy, in the next Premier League fantasy show. It should be very interesting. James 24 says, I personally, Longstaff will get cup games and other games, just not the top sides, but he's earned his place getting us in the top 4. Yeah, he has. He's got money in the bank for me. He was one of the standout players last season, and he proved that when he got injured because we were on the ropes when he wasn't playing, and he certainly took a lot of the shit off Bruno as well. So.
Additionally, it's worth remembering we've got 5 substitutions we can use. And last season, we didn't have the depth to really be able to take advantage of that. Last season, it was a lot of... We weren't really using all of them at all, to be honest. Whereas this season, obviously, depending on what happens with the rest of the transfer window, we might be in a position where we can use 5 subs quite regularly.
Yeah.
And people will get more minutes literally just because of that nice rule change.
Indeed. Peter says it seems to be something managers do now where they have a starting 11 and also a final 11. You need players from both of them. Jan says, how cannot say this or that player is off or we got 1 trillion in the kitty? Yeah, he's not going to tell anybody anything. And it, you know, if you believe these people that say, oh, we've got such and such in available to spend, it's all bollocks, man. Nobody from the club is going to come out and say, oh, we've got this, you know, this is our budget, you know, keep it on the, keep it on the QT, you know, just put it out there in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, but he could have said something slightly different because you can still be politically correct and be open to offers. Like he could have said, we love Maxi, but however, we are open to offers for players within the squad if obviously the right prices are offered. He could have still said something politically correct, but he didn't. He chose to full out and flat out just say no, he's not going.
Yeah.
So
John says Brighton fans were saying Ashworth isn't the mastermind in all them signings. Well, I wonder why they're saying that. Is it because they're a little bit bitter that he's gone?
Well, I mean, it's all the data agency, to be fair, but Ashworth still oversees a lot of that. Like, you've got to give him some credit.
Exactly. A lot of people were talking about Garang Kuol's non-appearance yesterday. He had been playing for Australia for a month, so he's been given a little bit of extended time, and that's why you haven't seen him in any training or anything like that. Still think he'll be out on loan next season. It's obviously trying to come up with a good club for him to go to next season. I've seen some people mention Leicester City might be a good place for him to go. You know, if we do an agreement with Harvey Barnes, could we send Kuol on loan? I think that would be a good move for him.
Possibly. I think we may, if he's around, we may see him at Ibrox Tuesday. He's played there before. He scored there before, in fact. So it could be a little telltale if he's playing Tuesday or not. Possible.
Yeah. Is the paid stream for Rangers available outside the UK? I don't know. All I would say is, you know, use a VPN and see if it works that way, because I know it happened last season a lot of the time in pre-season or overseas. It couldn't watch the friendlies, etc., but they could with a VPN. I don't necessarily know if that'll be 100% right or not. I'm just saying you could try it. Ryan says, a question for the 3 lads. Does Howe need to win a trophy this season? I reckon with the chairman interview, they want the success now. I don't think they care about being ahead of schedule. Interesting. Will the owners be looking for a trophy, Bill?
Of course, they will be. But I don't think it means he'll get the sack if he doesn't get one. I think as time goes on, there'll become more pressure on him, and it will help him if he gets one the next season. But I don't say he needs one. I don't think so. No.
Alex, what do you reckon?
No, I mean they're not silly. They've brought in a ton of advisors and all of these people into the relevant roles. They, real people with real good football knowledge of the industry and the business and all parts of it. There's no way they will have been advised incorrectly in that. It's unrealistic. I mean, the only model that's followed that is Chelsea, and they're the only one that have made it work. It's not really worked for anybody else. And you can't have that sort of cutthroat mentality when you've got the back end of the squad that we've got. When you've got, Dummett and Gillespie and Fraser and Hendrick, when you've got all of those still on your books, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Of course not.
It only worked for Chelsea as well because it was an unlevel playing field. They were the only ones with the money, weren't they? And FFP didn't exist. That's why it only worked for them so well. I
mean, I've mentioned this a couple of times. Obviously, we'll do the pre-season show when we talk about the expectations for the upcoming season. We do all the predictions, and people are messaging me constantly. Obviously, Alex Hurst did a podcast the other day talking about the expectations of what would be a failure and stuff, and everybody was asking me on his opinion as well. You can't expect top four again straight away. Like, it's unreal. It's in my opinion, it's stupid because even Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Man United, they can't guarantee it either. It's a stupid thing to sort of have as an expectation. You can have it as a target. I think Man City are the only people with that God-given right now where they can have an expectation of getting in the top four, whereas all of the others, Chelsea went from challenging to 12th, Liverpool went from challenging for the title to 5th. Like, we I don't want to be harsh to our club, but we haven't earned that yet. We have not earned that yet. We can't be miserable if we finish between 5th and 8th. Like, absolutely. It's very possible.
Well, Kim Huddle, our resident Spurs fan, hope you're well, buddy. Thank you for tuning in again. Will there be any internal pressure on Howe if he fails to qualify for the Champions League and doesn't win a trophy? Will there be pressure on Eddie Howe next season? I think there will be, but there's pressure on every single manager in the Premier League for whatever reason that may be. But I genuinely believe that Eddie Howe has earned a lot of money in the bank. Yes, there will be pressure. Eddie will put pressure on himself to perform. He will be the first one to put pressure on himself if we start the season badly or things aren't going right. But what we haven't got to do as a fan base is start thinking that things are taking a downward turn just because he's not playing very well or the team's not playing very well. We know that there's an element of supporters that will be on his back immediately should we lose a couple of games, but they don't know football. Quite honestly, this man has transformed our football club. He really has. Yes, the new owners have come in and helped along the way, but the main man and let's not forget, there is a lot of that team last season were under Steve Bruce as well. And I think people fail to realise that and fail to grasp that what he's done is transformed these players. He's given them the belief. Yes, it's up to the players once they cross that white line to perform, absolutely. But what Eddie Howe has done is he's improved their game, but he's also given them the belief of them. He's given them the self-belief to go out there and perform every week to the highest possible caliber. And can they get better? Absolutely. I don't think there's not many players have hit the peak yet.
There is an important point of literally what you've just said about can players get better. You've got to remember Willock should have scored 4 or 5 additional goals. He underperformed his XG massively, as did Botman, as did Fabian Schär, as did Dan Burn. There were a ton, as did Longstaff as well. There are a bunch of players in that squad that should have had more goals. Like, we should have had upwards of 15 more goals. The set pieces didn't work as we were intending them to. There's a lot of room for improvement just through what we've got already. That's without factoring in any additional improvements or new players. Like, if we can just fix the bad luck with that instantly helps.
Mm-hmm. The worrying thing for me is if we don't qualify for Champions League next season, we may have players that are unhappy at not being in Champions League and may want to move away. high-profile players.
There is always that risk. There is always going to be that risk, isn't there? Steck says, don't get me wrong, Paul, regarding the host origin. I was just curious. No problem, matey. Mimar's from Coventry, my second team. How about Billy? Yeah, Billy's from Coventry.
My second team's Newcastle United ladies team, and I don't have any of the second team at all.
Yeah, he's not affiliated with Coventry. Lives near the ground, but doesn't support them. He's black and white through and through, is War Bill, as is Ming the Merciless up there. Matty says they aren't even comfortable. It literally is just getting in and out of what is annoying. I don't see the point of these little low-down cars. Are crazy. Well, Alex, it's only because you know little garden gnomes like yourself can fit in them. You know, normal-sized people can't fit in Lambos and stuff these days. You know, it's only people that sit there next to a pond with a fishing rod. They can get in and out of little cars quite easily. And I only said that because I saw you smirking. Anyway, talking about the motors and well, we're not going into motors and Nuki with the missus. That's just mental. Leslie says, good evening, Paul, and everyone. Garner is here. God, that's like we're not the Eurovision Song Contest. Good evening, Garner calling. But they're not in Europe, so they never do that. Dark by Design says, Luton have asked for the home games to be suspended. The ground isn't ready yet. Look, I don't know what to make of this Luton situation. I mean, I've seen a lot of people making comments on social media regarding it, saying, you know, they should have realised that this day might come. They should have done something about the stadium, etc. But listen, why would they spend, you know, Luton's not the biggest club in the world. Why would they spend that much money getting the ground revamped when it didn't really need to be done until now? You know, they haven't got a lot of money. They're not even going to be signing a lot of players by the looks of things either. So, you know.
I think if ever there's a certainty for relegation, I think it's them.
Susan says, I've got to go closer to the mic. Pack it in. Makes me sound very deep. Anyway. Paul, you're talking Max's hamstring, but you've not mentioned Joe Willock's hamstring problems now. Well, I don't know what car he drives. I mean, if we can find out what he drives, then maybe we'll have a chat about it and see if there is any kind of link. I mean, does Callum Wilson drive a low sports car? I mean, for me, if it was me and I had that kind of money, I'd go for the Range Rovers and the beefy cars like that. But, you know, that's just me. I mean, Alex, you'd probably suit a smart car like Dan Byrne.
Hey, if you're buying me a smart car, you can buy me a smart car. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, no, because you'd look too much like Noddy then. Anyway, Mrs. Toon Review says, to Clarky, me and Rachel can make you lean and buff if you want to go on, but I'm afraid it's a no from us. I've no idea what conversation that is. I'm staying well out of that one. But that is it, guys. We've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Tomorrow night, guys, do we have a transfer show? Should we throw in a transfer show tomorrow night, or are we going to preview the Rangers game? We can do a bit of both, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've already started Rangers prep. So if you want to do half and half, we can do half a transfer show, half Rangers preview.
Yeah, we can fit everything in. Danny says Paul would fly in by helicopter. Listen, you couldn't pay me enough money to get in a helicopter, right? The only helicopter I would ever travel in is Airwolf, right? Nothing else. Those of you that don't have a clue what Airwolf is, I suggest you go on YouTube it. What a machine that was, by the way. But nobody could pay me to get in one of them. Willock does not have a Peel P50. Stu, no way.
Someone said Hillman Imp earlier.
I know. God, the old classics, bloody hell. But listen, guys, we've had over 1,200 watching tonight again. It's absolutely magnificent. Thank you so much for all your support that you're giving this channel at the minute. We cannot show our appreciation enough. We are genuinely astonished that we get so much support on these live shows. It's brilliant that our subscribers are rising at the pace they are as well. It is all down to you. All down to you guys out there. Thank you to all the new members that have signed up tonight, and of course the super chatters. Mod Squad, superb again. But some great chat again going on in the in the chat, funny enough. But we hope you've enjoyed the show. Keep an eye out for the daily news shows coming up during the week, and of course the live shows. We will let you know as soon as possible when they're scheduled in. We are going to have a little bit of a chinwag now about the shows coming up, and then we will schedule them in. So Fez, get ready for some thumbnails, my friend. They'll be coming at you tonight. But thank you for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll see you very, very soon. Good night, guys.
Away the lads and lasses.
Come back and check on some breathing. When I'm thanked to and I'm thanked to then are you back different tragic? Show myself who makes magic.